If we don't turn the basketball over against a Raptor team, it'll give us certainly the best shot as Gary Trent Jr. takes the best shot all the way from downtown Etobicoke in shot contests. Here's Gary Trent Jr. comes up short. Wade quickly now to Sexton, gets it into the front court. Guarded tightly by Gary Trent Jr. Allen sets a screen, and they're poking it away. Is Trent Jr. and OG right to the rim, and Gary Trent Jr. looks over at the bench and, yeah, I got my first one tonight. Coming out of that timeout, here's Achua. Sag off of Precious. Gary Trent Jr. flips it up. Shot doesn't go.
Did a good job finding him.
Skip pass. Gary Trent Jr. The three is good. You're rolling. Here's Gary Trent Jr. Good job over Windler, and it doesn't fall. Offensive rebound. Comes right to Banton, who lays it up and through Delano Banton. Gary Trent Jr. Trent Jr. on the move. It spills out. Gets his own rebound. Looks around. And it gets poked away from him right to Ken Birch, who's been so good in the painted area. Gary Trent Jr. Trent Jr. on the move. It spills out. Gets his own rebound. Looks around. And it gets poked away from him right to Ken Birch, who's been so good in the painted area. Lead pass now to Trent Jr. And great flip pass to Banton. The recognition. But OG draws the D, but then Boucher has it stripped. And Trent Jr. gets it right back. Jumper doesn't go. And Allen with a rebound. Garland on a kick out, and Gary Trent Jr. steals it. But Garland on a kick out, and Gary Trent Jr. steals it. But right to the Cavs, and Allen underneath the bucket.
So once again, you stick to your role, and it will expand at times.
There's Flynn, lead pass, OG! Oh my, with the double clutch reverse.
A good rebound. You have to continue doing that little things that you just mentioned. And right there with that pass.
Trent Jr. turnover. Here's Osman. And that pops out. Downhill strong, puts it up, gets his own rebound, take it away. Allen, loose ball scooped up. And Malachi, no baskets. Raptors have made 8 threes. Mobley stripped by Barnes. 2-on-1 break. Van Vliet up top. OG! Oh my, throwing it down. Because you do those things and all of a sudden you're in the flow of the game, right? Sexton, the pressure, and reach and foul. Let's check in with Amy Audibert. Amy?
Achua had a great defensive segment right there. Gary Trent Jr. knifing down. Still, you know he's going to be aggressive, getting in the paint.
Achua up high and knocked away. Great recognition by Barnes.
Thank you so much for your time. Watch your guy go right now. Thanks. Matt, back to you.
On cue, Gary Trent Jr. delivers the three, and the Raptors up 72-59. Zach. Garland. Allen comes over, sets a screen, clock down, and a turnover. Gary Trent Jr. has it knocked away. Allen comes over, sets a screen, clock down, and a turnover. Gary Trent Jr. has it knocked away. And now a loose ball foul is going to be charged to Gary Trent Jr. Allen comes over, sets a screen, clock down, and a turnover. Gary Trent Jr. has it knocked away. And now a loose ball foul is going to be charged to Gary Trent Jr. There's Barnes. Birch. Popped out. 7 on the shot clock. Gary Trent Jr. and a foul. And 12 the other night. Tonight they've only turned it over 8 times. Gary Trent Jr. from the elbow. Barnes kicks it over to Mihailuk, looking for the curling. Gary Trent Jr. There he is, puts it on the deck with a left, no, and Birch trying to keep it alive. Mobley will clear it out.
And actually now, J.B. Bickerstaff, you can see the left side of your screen, had that discussion with Jenna Schroeder, and I have a feeling she said
He was maybe looking for Allen over there.
Kim Birch just doing a great job. I don't know what he saw, but Kim Birch defending the basket. Wow. What a move.
Tough as nails.
Gary Trent Jr. is a heck of a defensive player.
13.3 to go. 12 on the shot clock. Batted out. Controlled by Osman. Gets it now to Garland.